The horizon of conflict. The vast emptiness of the Orion sector stretched before Commander Elena Rodriguez, her dark eyes scanning the holographic displays that flickered with intricate data streams. The United Earth Stellar Command's newest deep-range cruiser, UES Prometheus, hummed with a quiet intensity that matched the tension brewing across human-controlled space. The growing shadows. Intelligence reports had been mounting over the past solar cycles. The Varkonian Collective, a ruthless multi-species confederation, had been systematically expanding their territories, consuming smaller civilizations with a methodical brutality that sent shockwaves through neighboring star systems. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, the ship's tactical officer, broke the silence. Commander, long-range scanners are picking up unusual gravitational disturbances near the Epsilon Quadrant. Rodriguez's fingers danced across the holographic interface, zooming in on the anomalous readings. Something wasn't right. The Varkonians were known for their sophisticated stealth technologies, but these readings suggested something more deliberate. Whispers of impending conflict. Cross-reference with our diplomatic intelligence, Rodriguez commanded. Her voice was calm, but there was an underlying current of anticipation. Humanity had spent decades building a reputation of diplomatic restraint, but everyone on the Prometheus knew that could change in an instant. The ship's artificial intelligence, ARIA, quickly compiled the data. Correlation indicates a 78.6% probability of strategic military positioning, the AI reported, its synthesized voice devoid of emotion but loaded with implication. Marcus leaned closer to the display. They're not just exploring. They're preparing something big. The human advantage. What the Varkonians didn't understand, what no species in the known galaxy seemed to comprehend, was humanity's unique approach to challenges. While other civilizations evolved through generations of gradual adaptation, humans had a remarkable ability to innovate, to transform, to rewrite the very rules of engagement. The Prometheus was more than just a warship. It was a testament to human ingenuity, a vessel equipped with experimental quantum communication systems, adaptive nano-armor, and computational networks that could process strategic scenarios faster than entire alien command centers. The first tremors. A sudden alert flashed across the main display. Marcus's hands moved with lightning precision. Multiple unidentified vessels entering sensor range. Configuration doesn't match any known Varkonian standard design. Rodriguez's posture shifted, her military training seamlessly transitioning from observation to readiness. ARIA, full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about these ships. The AI's response was instantaneous. Vessel signatures suggest experimental technology. Stealth capabilities exceed current galactic standards. Recommendation, maintain passive scanning, avoid direct engagement. But Rodriguez knew better. These weren't just ships. They were a message, a probing strike designed to test human responses. The decision point. Prepare communication protocols, she ordered. Let's see how they react to a diplomatic approach first. As the first quantum-encrypted messages began transmission, something fundamental was about to change in the delicate balance of galactic power. The Prometheus stood as humanity's silent sentinel, a harbinger of a response that would soon shake the foundations of known space. Little did the approaching vessels know that behind the calm exterior of the human ship lay a technological and strategic capacity that would soon redefine the meaning of interstellar conflict. The horizon of war was approaching, and humanity was ready. The hidden workshops of innovation. Deep within the Lunar Research Complex, Dr. Nikolai Volkov studied the holographic projections with an intensity that bordered on obsession. The massive underground facility, known only as Project Horizon, represented humanity's most closely guarded secret, a technological proving ground that would redefine the boundaries of scientific possibility. Surrounding him, teams of researchers from diverse disciplines worked in synchronized precision. Quantum physicists collaborated with biomechanical engineers, theoretical mathematicians conversed with neural network specialists. This wasn't just a research center, it was the crucible where human potential was forged. Breakthrough beyond limits. Quantum resonance stabilization at 99.7%, announced Dr. Elena Petrova, her voice cutting through the ambient hum of advanced computing systems. A breakthrough that would have taken most civilizations centuries was being refined in mere months. The project they were developing went far beyond conventional weapons or communication technologies. It was a complete reimagining of technological interaction, a system that could adapt, learn, and evolve in real time. The adaptive network. Volkov's primary creation was Nexus, a neural adaptive extraspatial unified system. Unlike traditional AI, Nexus wasn't just a computational tool. It was a living, breathing network that could instantaneously recalibrate strategies, predict potential outcomes, and develop solutions faster than any biological or artificial intelligence in the known galaxy. "Look at this," Volkov said, pulling up a complex holographic model. "Traditional alien technologies are linear. They adapt through generational changes. We're creating a system that adapts within milliseconds. Psychological warfare through technology." The true genius of Nexus wasn't just its computational power. It was its ability to understand and predict psychological responses. By analyzing vast databases of interspecies interactions, communication patterns, and historical conflict data, the system could anticipate not just physical movements, but potential psychological breaking points. Dr. Petra Rodriguez, a behavioral xenopsychologist, explained the concept to her colleagues. "We're not just preparing for a physical conflict. We're developing a technology that can deconstruct entire strategic frameworks before they're even implemented." The unexpected weapon. What made Nexus truly revolutionary was its ability to learn from seemingly unrelated data. Historical records, cultural archives, scientific publications, everything became a potential strategic resource. The system could draw connections that no traditional intelligence could comprehend. "It's like teaching a child to think," Volkov muttered, "but this child learns a lifetime of knowledge in seconds." The silent preparation. Outside the lunar complex, the world continued its routine. Diplomatic channels remained calm, military preparations seemed standard. But within these underground chambers, humanity was preparing a technological revolution that would fundamentally alter the galaxy's understanding of warfare and innovation. The Varkonian Collective, with their sophisticated but rigid technological approach, had no idea what was coming. They saw humanity as another species to be conquered, another civilization to be absorbed. They were about to learn how drastically wrong they were. The final calibration. As the research teams made final adjustments, a sense of anticipation filled the air. This wasn't just about developing a weapon or a communication system. This was about proving a fundamental truth about human potential, that limitations were nothing more than challenges waiting to be overcome. Volkov looked at the final projection, a complex web of potential scenarios and technological interactions. "We're not just preparing for a conflict," he said softly. "We're rewriting the rules of existence." First contact of destruction. The silence of deep space erupted with a violent brilliance as the first Varkonian assault fleet emerged from quantum-fold space. Commander Rodriguez watched from the bridge of the UES Prometheus, her hand steady on the tactical interface. The initial attack was calculated, brutal, a standard Varkonian strategy designed to overwhelm and intimidate. 5 massive dreadnoughts, each the size of a small moon, surrounded the human forward outpost in the Epsilon Quadrant. Their weapon signatures pulsed with destructive potential, energy readings that would have sent most species into immediate retreat. But humanity was not most species. Unconventional warfare. Nexus, Rodriguez called out, tactical analysis. The ship's advanced AI system responded instantly, its voice calm and precise. Detected primary weakness in Varkonian fleet configuration. Asymmetrical response recommended. Lieutenant Marcus watched the incoming data streams, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. The conventional military wisdom would suggest defensive maneuvers or immediate retreat. But the Prometheus was anything but conventional. The unexpected response. Instead of scattering or preparing traditional defensive formations, the human fleet did something the Varkonians had never anticipated. They moved forward. The Prometheus's experimental quantum drive engaged, creating a localized space-time manipulation that defied standard physical laws. Where other ships would take minutes to reposition, the human vessel seemed to teleport, not through faster-than-light travel, but by momentarily existing in multiple spatial coordinates simultaneously. Quantum positional disruption activated, ARIA reported. Enemy tracking systems compromised. Psychological warfare in action. The Varkonian fleet commanders watched in growing horror as their sophisticated targeting systems began to fail. What should have been a straightforward annihilation was turning into a nightmare of technological confusion. One of the Varkonian dreadnought captains, a battle-hardened veteran of 100 conquests, found himself staring at sensor readings that made no logical sense. The human ship wasn't just avoiding their attacks, it was fundamentally breaking their understanding of spatial mechanics. The first strike. When the Prometheus finally engaged its weapons, it wasn't with traditional energy weapons or missile systems. Instead, it deployed quantum-entangled disruptors that didn't just damage physical structures, they undermined the very quantum stability of the target ships. The first Varkonian dreadnought simply began to dissolve. Not explode. Not break apart. But systematically deconstruct at a molecular level, its complex systems falling apart as if the very fabric of its existence was being unraveled. Beyond physical conflict. This wasn't just a battle. It was a demonstration, a clear message to the Varkonian collective and every watching civilization in the galaxy. Humanity wasn't just another species to be conquered. They were something entirely different. Target neutralized, ARIA reported. Quantum destabilization at 97.3% efficiency. Rodriguez allowed herself the briefest moment of satisfaction. One dreadnought down. 4 to go. The psychological moment. The remaining Varkonian ships hesitated. For the first time in their collective military history, they experienced something unprecedented, genuine, paralyzing uncertainty. Their tactical databases, filled with centuries of conquest and battle strategies, offered no guidance. The human response defied every known principle of warfare, of technological interaction, of spatial engagement. A new era begins. As the battle continued, it became clear that this was more than a military engagement. This was a fundamental shift in galactic power dynamics. The Varkonian collective was about to learn a harsh lesson about the species they had underestimated. The aftermath of transformation. In the wake of the unprecedented battle, the galactic community found itself at a pivotal moment of reckoning. The quantum disruption caused by the human fleet had sent shockwaves far beyond the immediate conflict zone, creating a ripple effect that challenged everything known about interstellar warfare. Deep within the United Earth Strategic Command, a war room filled with the most brilliant minds humanity could assemble was working overtime. The battle wasn't just a military victory, it was a technological revolution waiting to be understood. Unveiling the impossible. Dr. Elena Petrova stood before a massive holographic display, her fingers tracing the complex quantum signatures of the recent engagement. It's not just about destroying ships, she explained to the assembled military and scientific leaders. We've essentially rewritten the fundamental rules of spatial interaction. The technology demonstrated during the battle was more than a weapon. It was a complete reimagining of how matter, energy, and space could interact. The quantum-entangled disruptors hadn't just damaged the Varkonian ships, they had fundamentally altered the quantum state of their molecular structures. The technological breakthrough. Nexus, the adaptive intelligence system developed in the Lunar Research Complex, began processing the battle data with unprecedented speed. What would take traditional research teams decades was being analyzed in microseconds. Quantum positional uncertainty has been reduced to 0.002%, the AI reported. Potential applications extend far beyond military use. We're looking at fundamental reshaping of transportation, communication, and energy generation. Psychological implications. The most significant impact wasn't technological, it was psychological. The Varkonian Collective, a species that had built its entire civilization on the premise of technological superiority, had just witnessed a complete paradigm shift. Intelligence reports began streaming in from various diplomatic channels. Alien species that had long lived under the threat of Varkonian expansion were now looking at humanity with a mixture of terror and fascination. The hidden potential. What the galaxy didn't yet understand was the true depth of human innovation. The battle was merely a demonstration, a small glimpse into capabilities that had been carefully developed over decades of secret research. Commander Rodriguez reviewed the preliminary reports, a slight smile crossing her typically stoic features. They had shown just enough to make a statement, but not everything. Humanity always kept something in reserve. Beyond conventional understanding. The quantum technologies developed by human researchers went beyond simple weapon systems. They represented a fundamental reimagining of scientific possibility. Transportation that could bypass traditional spacetime limitations, communication systems that could transmit information instantaneously across vast distances, energy generation that drew power from the very fabric of quantum reality. Dr. Volkov, reviewing the data from the Lunar Research Complex, understood the true significance. We're not just developing a technology, he muttered to himself. We're evolving the very concept of technological interaction. The Galactic response. News of the human victory spread quickly. Diplomatic channels buzzed with activity. The Varkonian Collective, typically known for their immediate and overwhelming response to threats, was unusually silent. For the first time in generations, another species had not just resisted Varkonian expansion, they had done so in a way that fundamentally challenged the existing understanding of technological warfare. A new frontier. As the quantum disruption signatures continued to be analyzed, one thing became increasingly clear. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not as a new player, but as a fundamental game-changer. The unraveling of confidence. Within the crystalline chambers of the Varkonian Central Command, a palpable sense of fear replaced the once unshakable arrogance. Supreme Strategist Krelax stood before a holographic representation of the recent battle, his multi-jointed appendages trembling with a mixture of rage and unprecedented uncertainty. Explain, he demanded of the assembled intelligence analysts. How is this possible? The silence that followed was more terrifying than any verbal response could have been. The intelligence breakdown. Senior analyst Vorntek, a veteran of countless strategic assessments, struggled to articulate what everyone was thinking. The human engagement defied every known principle of warfare, of technological interaction, of species development. They're not just technologically advanced, Vorntek began, his translation matrix struggling to convey the complexity of the observation. They're fundamentally different. The holographic display continued to cycle through the battle footage. Each replay revealed new layers of complexity that made less and less sense to the Varkonian strategic minds. Psychological deconstruction. What truly terrified the Varkonian leadership wasn't the technological superiority. It was the apparent ease with which humans seemed to break fundamental laws of physics and strategic engagement. Human ships didn't just avoid attacks. They seemed to exist in multiple potential states simultaneously. Weapon systems that should have been devastating simply failed. It was as if the humans were operating on an entirely different plane of existence. The growing fear. Intelligence reports began to paint a disturbing picture. This wasn't just about a single battle or a technological breakthrough. This was evidence of a species that approached challenges in a way completely alien to traditional galactic understanding. They don't evolve, one analyst muttered, reviewing historical human data. They choose to change. The statement was more profound than it initially seemed. While most species adapted through generational changes, humans appeared to intentionally and rapidly transform themselves, technologically, strategically, biologically. The diplomatic tremors. Across the galaxy, diplomatic channels began to shift. Species that had long lived under the shadow of Varkonian expansion suddenly saw a potential alternative. If humans could stand against the Varkonian collective, what other possibilities existed? Supreme Strategist Krelax understood the true danger. It wasn't about the immediate military threat. It was about the fundamental shift in galactic perception. The psychological weapon. The human approach to conflict was itself a weapon. They didn't just fight, they redefined the very concept of fighting. Each engagement was a psychological deconstruction, a demonstration that challenged everything other species believed about technological and strategic limitations. We are facing an enemy that doesn't recognize limitations, Krelax finally spoke, his voice a mixture of fear and reluctant respect. An enemy that sees barriers as opportunities. The mounting uncertainty. Intelligence reports continued to pour in. Human research facilities were working on technologies that seemed to border on the impossible. Quantum communication systems that could transmit information instantaneously. Adaptive biological systems that could modify themselves in real time. It wasn't just about military superiority. It was about a fundamental approach to existence that was completely foreign to established galactic civilizations. The inevitable confrontation. As the Varkonian leadership debated their next move, one thing became increasingly clear. The conflict was no longer about territory or resources. It had become a fundamental challenge to everything they understood about technological and species development. Humanity had become more than an enemy. They had become an existential question that threatened to unravel the very foundations of galactic civilization. The psychological warfare had begun. And the humans hadn't fired a single additional shot. The final confrontation. The Varkonian collective's response was predictable yet desperate. They assembled the largest battle fleet in their history, a massive armada that stretched across multiple star systems, representing the culmination of centuries of military development. Over 10,000 ships, each a testament to their technological might, converged on the human-controlled Epsilon Quadrant. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, her team moving with a precision that defied traditional military protocols. Nexus hummed with an almost living intensity, its quantum neural networks processing potential scenarios faster than any biological intelligence could comprehend. The technological symphony. As the Varkonian fleet approached, something extraordinary began to unfold. The human response wasn't a traditional battle formation. Instead, it was a complex, adaptive strategy that seemed to blur the lines between technology, strategy, and pure innovation. Quantum synchronization at 99.8%, ARIA reported. The ship's AI had become more than just a computational system, it was a living strategy engine that could predict and counter enemy movements before they were even conceived. Beyond physical conflict. The battle that ensued defied every known principle of warfare. Human ships didn't just fight, they existed in multiple potential states simultaneously. Weapon systems that should have been devastating simply found themselves neutralized by technologies that seemed to manipulate the very fabric of spacetime. Lieutenant Marcus watched in awe as Varkonian dreadnoughts simply disappeared. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Simply removed from existence in a way that challenged fundamental understanding of physical reality. The psychological moment. Supreme Strategist Krelax watched in growing horror as his meticulously planned assault began to unravel. The human fleet wasn't just resisting, they were fundamentally rewriting the rules of engagement. Quantum-entangled communication systems allowed human ships to act as a single, adaptive organism. Where traditional militaries would require complex command structures, the human fleet moved with a unity that suggested something beyond mere technological coordination. The turning point. As the battle progressed, it became clear this was more than a military engagement. It was a fundamental demonstration of a species that had chosen to transcend traditional limitations. "They're not just fighting," one Varkonian tactical analyst muttered in disbelief. "They're evolving in real time. The human ships didn't just defend, they transformed. Adaptive nano-armor that could reconfigure itself instantaneously. Weapon systems that could change their fundamental quantum signature faster than an enemy could track." The Galactic statement. What had begun as a conflict became a clear message to the entire galactic community. Humanity wasn't just another species to be categorized or conquered. They were a fundamental force of transformation. The Varkonian collective, which had spent centuries expanding through overwhelming force, found itself facing an enemy that didn't just resist, but fundamentally challenged the very concept of resistance. The aftermath. As the final Varkonian ships were neutralized, the silence was more profound than any explosion could have been. The Prometheus and its accompanying fleet had done more than win a battle. They had redefined the possibilities of technological and species development. Commander Rodriguez allowed herself the briefest moment of reflection. This wasn't just a victory. It was a new beginning. "Nexus," she called softly, "prepare comprehensive data transmission to Earth. It's time the galaxy understands who we are." A new galactic order. The battle was over. But humanity's true journey was just beginning. The quantum horizons stretched out before them, limitless, undefined, full of potential.